Module 4. Race and Ethnicity. Race and ethnicity are concepts that have long shaped human societies, yet their meanings are often misunderstood and misrepresented. While race might reflect our biological heritage to some degree, it is ethnicity that reflects our cultural heritage. Ethnicity encompasses the shared culture of a group, including language, ancestry, practices, and beliefs. This distinction is crucial for understanding the complexity of human identity. European Americans in the United States, often referred to as white ethnics, particularly in the context of American history, were immigrants from Europe, whose language and customs differed from those of the original white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. These diverse groups brought with them a rich tapestry of cultural practices, which have been integrated into the broader American culture over time. But how do individuals and societies come to develop prejudices, and why do these negative beliefs persist? Prejudice is not inherent. Rather, it is learned through socialization and imitating the behaviors and attitudes of others. For instance, in some social environments, prejudicial beliefs are part of the cultural norms and may be expressed overtly or subtly in everyday practices. Kathleen Blee's research illustrates this learning process vividly. She found that many women who joined groups like the Ku Klux Klan or the Aryan Nation were not initially prejudiced. Instead, they adopted these beliefs after being recruited by existing members, demonstrating how prejudice can be adopted through association and social network. The way people construct their racial ethnic identity is also influenced by their social context. Identity is not a fixed trait. It is an ongoing process of negotiation and interaction with the surrounding society. This can involve embracing certain aspects of one's heritage while also adapting to the dominant culture. However, the adaptation process can be marred by experiences of prejudice and discrimination. Prejudice refers to preconceived opinions or attitudes about a group, which are often negative and not based on actual experience. Discrimination, on the other hand, is the unfair treatment of individuals based on their membership in a particular group. Both can be practiced on an individual level or can be institutionalized, becoming part of the policies and practices of organizations and systems, thus affecting generations. Theories of prejudice attempt to explain why such biases form and persist. Some theories suggest that prejudice arises from a need to feel superior to others or from a scarcity of resources, which leads to competition among groups. Others point to the role of socialization and the influence of authority figures in perpetuating discriminatory beliefs. Looking at the global patterns of intergroup relations, we see a wide variety of experiences. Some societies are marked by a high degree of multicultural integration, while others are characterized by significant segregation and inequality. These patterns are influenced by historical relationships, economic structures, and political systems. Within the United States, the relationships among different racial and ethnic groups have been shaped by a long and often painful history. European Americans, while diverse in their origins, have typically been the dominant group in terms of social, economic, and political power. However, this status has not been without its challenges and has evolved over time with changing immigration patterns and social norms. Latinos, Hispanics in the United States have contributed significantly to the country's cultural and economic life, yet they have also faced systemic barriers and discrimination. African Americans have a unique and profound history, from the injustices of slavery and segregation to the ongoing struggles for equality and justice. Asian Americans, though often perceived as a model minority, have faced their own forms of prejudice and exclusion. Native Americans, the first inhabitants of the continent, have endured centuries of dispossession and marginalization. As we look towards the future, it is clear that race and ethnicity will continue to be central to the social fabric of the United States and the world. The challenge will be to foster societies that celebrate diversity, encourage integration, and ensure equality. This can only be achieved through education, open dialogue, and a commitment to justice and mutual respect. Only then can we hope to build communities where all individuals have the opportunity to thrive and contribute to their fullest potential. Gender and age. Let's take a closer look at the interplay of gender and age in our society, akin to unraveling a complex narrative that continually evolves with each generation. Discussing sex and gender often becomes a comparison of inherent biological differences with the roles society assigns to us. It's an intricate dance between nature and expectation, where the latter can significantly influence one's trajectory in life, often setting the stage for inequality. Consider the debate on gender differences in behavior. Is it our biology or our culture that predominantly shapes us? The reality is a blend of both, where innate tendencies meet the force of cultural norms. This interaction shapes not only individual identities but also societal structures at large. Globally, the landscape of gender inequality varies widely. A society's approach to gender roles can be indicative of its overall well-being. Where gender parity prevails, particularly in education and the workforce, societies often reap economic and social benefits. Conversely, the absence of such equality can hinder progress. The scourge of violence against women is an issue that transcends borders, a stark reflection of deep-seated gender biases. It's a societal blight that manifests in personal relationships and is entrenched in cultural practices, underscoring the gravity of gender-based disparities. Turning to the United States, the narrative of gender inequality is evident in the persistent wage gap, the imbalance in job opportunities, and the scarcity of women in leadership roles. Women, especially from marginalized communities, often contend with multiple layers of discrimination, a phenomenon exemplified by the child penalty, a term denoting the professional setback women face due to childbearing and caregiving responsibilities. The workplace is a microcosm of society's broader gender dynamics. Here, gender inequality manifests in various forms, from recruitment and promotion to salary disparities. Despite strides towards inclusivity, the workplace often mirrors, and at times amplifies, societal prejudices. Politically, the landscape is gradually transforming. A more diverse array of candidates is reshaping the political narrative, challenging long-standing norms, and advocating for policy changes that address gender imbalances. Amidst these challenges, there is an emergent hope. Activism, policy reform, and changing societal attitudes are paving the way for a future where gender equality is the norm rather than the exception. In the context of aging, our journey through life is profoundly influenced by societal attitudes and policies. Women, in particular, may face the twofold challenge of aging and gender discrimination, impacting their financial security and social standing in later life. Sociologically, aging is not merely a biological process but also a social one. The symbolic interactionist perspective emphasizes the role of societal interactions in shaping our experience of aging, while the functionalist view suggests that a stable society requires all members, including the elderly, to fulfill specific roles. The conflict perspective, however, highlights the struggles surrounding resources and power, as evidenced by the creation of Social Security benefits through the advocacy of competing interest groups. As we consider the future, it's clear that our understanding of gender and age will continue to evolve. By examining these aspects through various sociological lenses, we can aspire to create a society where every individual can age with dignity and without the constraints imposed by gender discrimination. It's a vision of the future that embraces equality and celebrates the contributions of all, regardless of gender or age. Politics and the economy. When we dive into the realm of politics and the economy, we're engaging with the very structures that define human interaction on a societal scale. Let's imagine the intricate dance of power, authority, and violence as the backbone of political institutions. Power, the capacity to effect change, is often channeled through authority, the rightful use of power that societies recognize. Consider the United States, where authority is grounded in a system of written laws and governance. This is rational legal authority in action. It's a system where the rule of law supersedes individual personalities, traditions, or customs. The way power and authority are configured within a country can tell us a lot about its government. Some nations are steered by a single leader's vision, while others rely on collective decision-making. In the U.S., the political system is a complex web of checks and balances, designed to prevent any one branch from holding all the cards. It's this balance that shapes everything from economic policy to social programs. Speaking of shaping policies, let's talk about the people who cast their votes. In the U.S., there's a historical pattern of the working class leaning towards the Democratic Party. This is more than just a preference, it's a reflection of shared ideals and the party's stance on workers' rights and social support. Now, let's pull back the curtain on Capitol Hill and peek at the influencers who don't appear on any ballot. Lobbyists and special interest groups. They're the maestros of persuasion, playing a significant role in the transformation of economic systems by pushing for legislation that favors their interests. But who really rules? That's the million-dollar question. Is it the elected officials or the unseen titans of industry and finance? The truth is, it's a bit of both, with power dynamics continuously shifting beneath the surface of public perception. In parts of the world where traditional armies can't match up to the firepower of global superpowers, a different form of violence has emerged: terrorism. It's a method for the powerless to amplify their voice, to generate fear and sway public opinion against mighty foes like the United States and its allies. It's a shadow war, where the enemy is elusive, and the battlefield is everywhere. The economy, too, is an ever-changing beast. Just as the automobile redefined movement and demanded a new skill set from the populace, today's technologies are reshaping how we live and work. These changes ripple through societies, prompting adaptations and new forms of economic activity. Globally, we see a patchwork of economic systems, each with its philosophy on managing resources and production. Yet, capitalism's tendrils have wrapped around the world, with markets opening and merging in a vast, interconnected network. This brings us to the concept of a new world order, a phrase that once suggested a world united under a capitalist, democratic banner after the Cold War. But as the geopolitical landscape morphs, with new players and unforeseen challenges, this order is constantly being redefined. Through this lens, we can begin to understand the multifaceted relationship between governance, economics, and the distribution of power. The principles of rational legal authority give shape to political structures. Technological innovations like the automobile become symbols of cultural adaptation. And the global shift towards capitalism marks a significant turn in world history. Each component plays a part in the grand narrative of human society, where every law, vote, and economic policy is a note in the symphony of civilization.